my yarny friends, I'm Sara Sach. Welcome back to my crochet channel. Now today's video I'm going to show you how to make this fun Holly Jolly Gumdrop Blanket. I'm calling it a Christmas blanket because the yarn that I chose is Premier Gumdrop. It is in the colorway of Holly Jolly, and it's these beautiful mottled shades of light green, like a tree green, and a red. You can't see the white mottled in the lighter color, but let me show you the side of the yarn. See how that looks? Isn't that beautiful? And this is a super bulky number 6, and it's perfect for this particular style of blanket. I started with a granny square that is solid, and then we just stitched back and forth until it was as big as we wanted it to be. It's a really nice blanket for the back of your couch, maybe to use on the floor for the kids to sit on. It also makes a really nice blanket if someone is having a baby, a Christmas baby, or maybe it's your birthday and you love getting Christmas blankets and things like that in December. I made it because I think it's going to look lovely on the back of my couch, as you saw from those pictures at the beginning of the video. It's really easy, really simple, double crochet stitches. We call this a mitered square because we start with the granny square, like I said, and we just stitch back and forth until it's as big as we want. Now the pattern that I wrote measures approximately 48 by 48 inches. I did not put a fancy trim. We did all the way around the whole blanket with a row of double crochets, and then we finished off with a row of single crochets. But you know what? If you wanted to add some shell stitches or maybe the snowball stitch around the edge with some white, you could do that. You could do however you want for the trim. I wanted to just keep it simple so that it looks just nice and classy on the back of my couch for the Christmas holiday. Now you can find the complete pattern on my blog, and as always, I'll put that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. Alright, so let's talk a little bit about the yarn that I chose for this blanket. It is a super bulky number 6, so you could use any super bulky number 6 for this blanket. A blanket yarn or some of the velvet or velour yarns would be perfect as long as it's a bulky number 6. All right, now I chose this. This is the Premier Gumdrop, and I'll put that link, that's my affiliate link, underneath this video. So if you want to go and look at this yarn, check it out. Remember, there's some sales getting ready to come up, so make sure you check that out as well. Hit that sale tab and it'll tell you what's on sale. Okay, so you're going to need four of these cakes. Okay, so that's going to be about 28 ounces or about almost 400 yards. Okay, which is 4 cakes because this is a super bulky yarn, number 6. All right, and I just love this yarn. It is so smooth and soft. And sometimes you get some of these and they're not very sturdy. This one is really sturdy. It drives me nuts when I'm working with the thick yarn and it just frays on me. This will not do that to you. You will love this yarn. Now we stitched up this blanket with an N that is a 9mm crochet hook. This is a handle that I put on, probably 10 years ago with polymer clay, and it's holding up great. All right, so N hook, 9mm. You're going to need a needle with a nice big eye for weaving in the ends, and I'll show you how I do that. It's a little bit different when you're working with this big of a piece of strand of yarn than opposed to, say, a 3 or 4 weight yarn. Okay, and then don't forget you need a pair of scissors because you got to cut off those tie ends, right? So we're going to start similar to your basic granny square. So we're going to start with our slip knot. I'm going to chain 5 and then join this into a circle. And if you want to start your circle with a magic ring or magic circle or another method that you prefer, that's totally fine. Chain 5, join. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go in our circle, pull up a loop, and chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. This chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. Now we're going to double crochet and chain 1. And now we're going to repeat this 3 more times. So we'll stitch 2 double crochets, 1 and 2, and chain 1. 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, and chain 1. You'll also notice I am stitching over my tail of yarn. That way we can gather up that hole and close it up when we're done. All right, so I've got one more set of 2 double crochets, 1 and 2, and chain 1. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 sets of 2 double crochet, chain 1. I'm going to join to my chain 3, there we go, with a slip stitch. I'm going to slip stitch in the next double crochet and then slip stitch in the chain 1 space and go ahead and chain 3. Alrighty, so let me pull more yarn out here. And you will occasionally get these little fluff balls. It happens with fuzzy yarn. Alright, so I'm going to turn this over. I'm going to gently pull on my string there to close up that hole. And I'm going to go ahead and weave this in. You don't have to. You can wait till the end if you want to. I just like to get it over with. Alright, now, so I'm going to go underneath the stitches without coming through the front. And because it's a little bit different with the fibers, you don't want to go through the fibers of the yarn. So what I do is I go forward and then I go back and kind of go where I just went. Like that. And if you have more yarn left, you can go back and do that again. I'm going to give that just a little bit of a pull. And then I'm going to go ahead and clip it. All right, so now what we have for row 1 is 4 sets of 2 double crochet, chain 1, we slip stitched in the double crochet, we slip stitched in the chain 1 space, and chained 3. And that's how row 1 should look. Now we're ready for row 2. Our chain 3 counts is our first double crochet, and we're going to double crochet in that chain 1 space. We're going to chain 1 and stitch 2 double crochets in that same chain 1 space. So now what happens is we have these 2 double crochets, and we're going to stitch 1 double crochet in each of those 2 double crochets. And this is going to make the solid double crochet, or I'm sorry, the solid granny square. Okay, so now we're at the next chain 1 space, so we're going to stitch 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 double crochets in that chain 1 space. That brings us to the next 2 double crochets. So we're going to stitch 1 double crochet in each of those 2 double crochets. And then that brings us to the next chain 1 space, and we repeat stitching 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 double crochets. And what we're doing here is we're basically making a solid granny square. Now it is a little bit different because we are using a few less stitches in our corners than what you've probably seen with thinner yarn. But with this thicker yarn, we wanted to use a little bit less just because it bunches up too much. And if we made bigger holes for more room, we'd have bigger holes, and we don't want that, okay? And so that's why we're only doing 2 double crochets, chain 1 and 2 double crochets in the 4 corners. Square has 4 corners. All right, so that brings us to our last side. And again, we're going to stitch 1 double crochet, and they do get caught sometimes, especially if you don't go in the right spot. There we go. Got to get that in the right spot. All right, so there's 1 and 2. All right, so now we're going to join to our chain 3 with a slip stitch. We're going to slip stitch in that double crochet, and then we're going to go right in that chain 1 space and chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. All right, so let's take a quick look at it. We have 4 corners of 2 double crochet, chain 1, and 2 double crochets. And then we have those 2 double crochets on each of our sides. And so it's solid except for the chain 1 spaces in the corners. And that's the way row 2 should look. And I think you're going to notice this is going to work up really quick with this great big thick fuzzy yarn. It will work up super fast and makes a really great last minute gift that you can whip up, like I said, super fast. All right, so we've chained 3. We're going to double crochet in that chain 1 space, chain 1, and then stitch 2 double crochets in the corner. 1 and 2. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to stitch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 double crochets, 1 in each of those 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. That brings us to the corner. And we'll do the corner the same. We'll stitch 2 double crochets, 1 and 2, chain 1 and 2 double crochets. And then we'll stitch 1 in each of these 6, just like we did over here. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right, and see how that works? Our corner is the same, and then we stitch 1 in each of those 6. Then we did the corner, and then 1 in each of those 6, and then we'll repeat that on these last 2 sides. And then of course we'll join back to our chain 3. I have completed those last 2 sides, and so we have 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets in our 4 corners, and then we have those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 double crochets on the sides. All right, now we're ready to start our mitered section, which is how we finish our blanket. All right, so we join to our chain 3 with a slip stitch. We slip stitched in the next double crochet, we slip stitched in the chain 1 space, and then chained 3. Now we're not going to do 2 double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet. We're just going to have that 1 chain 3, which counts as a double crochet. And now we're going to stitch 1 double crochet in each of those stitches across. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right, so we had 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Because we have the 6 and then the 2, so that makes 10. And then our chain 3 counts as 1, so that gives us 11 double crochets. All right, now when we come to the corner, we're only going to stitch 1 double crochet, chain 1, and 1 double crochet in the corner. All right, and so now what we're going to do is we're going to place a double crochet in each of these stitches across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right, and then we're going to place 1 double crochet in this chain 1 space. All right, so we had 11, and then we placed a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and then we have 11 again because we stitched 10 and then 1 in that chain 1 space. And so now what we're going to do is chain 3 and turn our work. All right, but this is the way that row 4 should look. We're not going to stitch down here. From now on the blanket until we put our trim on, we're going to be stitching back and forth across this edge. And that's how our blanket is going to get bigger. All right, let's do row 5. So we've chained 3. We're going to turn our work. This chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. And now we're going to go in the next double crochet and stitch in each of those double crochets across. So 1, 2, 3, 4, oops, 5, 6, 7, 8, get in there, 9. Alrighty, so we're going to stitch in each of those double crochets across. So we have our chain 3, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Our chain 3 was 1, and then we stitched in those next 11. That brings us to our chain 1 space, and we're going to stitch 1 double crochet, chain 1, and 1 double crochet. All right, now we're going to turn and repeat. Guess I better close that. All the way across, stitching 1 double crochet in each. All right, this is 11, and then that chain 3, we're going to stitch our double crochet in, makes 12. All right, and chain 3. All right, so the way we're increasing is we're increasing by a stitch on each row because we're stitching that double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet. All right, so we did our second row of mitered stitch, and you can already see how we're beginning to grow. This is the back, chain 3 and turn, and here is the front. You will notice this pulls in just a little bit at the corner, but don't worry about that, because once we've stitched our blanket as big as we want it, we're going to come in and do a row of double crochet all the way around, and then of course that single crochet trim. But this is how row 5 should look. All right, let's do row 6. So we chained 3, we turned our work. Our chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. So we'll skip that first one and go to the next one and stitch 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets, working all the way to that corner. And remember, we're going to be increasing every row. And I think you can see how quickly using this super bulky yarn will make the blanket stitch up nice and quickly. I love a project that stitches up quickly and still looks beautiful. And I absolutely love the way this yarn works on this project. All right, so we have a chain 3, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, plus our chain 3, which makes 13, and then double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, turn our work, and we'll stitch those 13 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13 double crochets and chain 3. I do want to point out one thing. If you feel like it's stitching too loosely, you can always go down a hook size. If you feel like it's stitching too tightly, you can always go up a hook size, because we want this to lay nice and pretty. We don't want it to pull, but we also don't want it to be too loose. But this is the way that row 6 should look. All right, let's do row 7. So we've chained 3. We're going to go in that next stitch and again stitch 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets to the corner. I just love this yarn. It is so soft and sturdy and soft. It's just so soft. Soft and squishy. I love soft and squishy yarns. Okay, almost to the corner here. And like I said, this is a super simple pattern once you get going on it. It's a great take along. You're going to go visit your grandkids or your family for Thanksgiving or Christmas. Take this along and work on it while you're there, or in the car, or in the plane, or on a train. All right, so we have our chain 3, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And so you can see we're increasing by 1 on each side on every row, because now we're going to do that chain 1, double crochet and chain 1, and then we'll stitch 1 double crochet in each of those stitches, working across our row. All righty, almost there. And always make sure on this second row or the second portion, it's all one row, but the second row you always put one in that chain 3 that counted as our double crochet, because you don't want to get off by one and mess up your count on this row. It's very important. All right, so there's our chain, our double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 double crochets. So we have 14 and 14 in our double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. And see how that's growing? Isn't that just gorgeous? So we have completed 7 rows. I'm going to do one more just so that you understand how it flows. The main thing is that you need to, like I said, make sure that it lays nicely and it does stay a square, because if you stitch too tightly, it can pucker it up, and if you stitch too loosely, it can make it come out. That's why when you're doing a mitered square, it's very important to check your gauge occasionally. All right? All right, so we've chained 3. We're going to turn our work. Again, our chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. So we're going to double crochet in the next and in each of our double crochets across. And I'm bringing in that darker green there. So we're stitching 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets across till we reach that next chain 1 corner. Oops, there we go. All right, so here's our chain 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So on row 8, we have 15 double crochets. That's our chain 3 and the rest. All right, so now we're going to go in the corner and stitch our double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet. All right, and then we'll stitch 1 double crochet across, which will be a total of 15. All right, there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. And again, that last stitch is the chain 3 from that previous row. And chain 3. Isn't that pretty, that green? So pretty. And so this is how row 8 should look. You have 15 double crochets, your double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and then 15 double crochets. We chained 3 and turned our work. Okay, and so what you're going to do is you're going to continue to repeat row 8, increasing every row, and you're going to do that for 33 more rows. And that's going to get you a blanket that's about 48 by 48 inches once we add that row of double crochet and the trim. Okay, the trim row, of course, is that single crochet row. All right, so you're going to repeat row 8 for 33 more rows, increasing every row. All right, so here is my actual blanket. Here's where we started with our square, and then we did our rows, and you can see it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and makes a huge square, and it's absolutely gorgeous. Now, again, I did 33 more rows. If you want your blanket to be smaller, just measure as you go and make it the size that you want. Say you're making it for the baby's first Christmas and you only want to make it about 30 by 30 or 36 by 30, do less repeats. But maybe you want to make it for a great big old couch, or you have a friend that's a little bit taller, maybe wants a longer blanket, or you just want it bigger. Do as many repeat rows as you want to. Just remember, it is going to be a square blanket, not a rectangle, okay? Just have some fun and make it as big as you want. All right, so now I'm going to explain to you how to do the double crochet row on the outside and the trim using my swatch. So once you have made your blanket the size that you want, we're going to do a row of just double crochet all the way around. All right, so we would turn chain 3 and then double crochet just like we had been doing. Okay, and so what we're going to do is we're going to say that we turned it and we've already done these 2 rows, because that's what you'll do, these 2 sides. And then that brings you to here. All right, and we're not going to turn, we're going to move down the side and evenly stitch double crochets. So we have this double crochet, or this chain 3 that counts as a double crochet, and so we're going to take that out. We don't want that to be a double crochet. What we're going to do is we're going to double crochet in the sides of our stitches, and we're going to try to do this evenly, working down the side. And you want to make sure that you don't get it in those big gaping holes, because we stitched double crochets and you don't want to go in those holes. You want to go in the sides of the stitches the best that you can. So as I'm working down, I'm not counting my stitches. I mean, you can, so that you have the same amount of stitches on these 2 sides as you do on these 2, but I'm not, because this is just a swatch, and I didn't on my big blanket either. I just stitched evenly. And that's totally up to you if you want to count them or you just want to evenly stitch your double crochet stitches. Okay, and you'll notice I'm going right in the sides of those stitches, not the holes. And that's going to give you a more secure trim and not pull on your blanket. Because, I mean, when you make a big blanket, it can be just a little bit heavy. Although this is not a heavy, bulky 6. It's very light. Okay, so I'm just working down the side evenly, trying not to leave any holes or gaping portions and not to pucker them up too much. We want to try to make it look as even as possible. And I realize this is just a swatch, not the actual blanket, and so I'm going to be done a lot quicker, of course. All right, and then when you get to the corner, just go ahead and do that double crochet, chain 1 and double crochet as we've done throughout the blanket once we got into doing our mitered rows. All right, and then you just do the same thing up the other side. You just evenly stitch double crochets until you reach back up where you started. Yes, this is a very easy blanket. It's an easy blanket that turns out just gorgeous. When it comes to a lot of these fuzzy type yarns, if you try to do intricate stitches, they're just lost in all the fuzz. You know, they're fuzzy and squishy, And you waste your time if you try to do something super intricate, because it just, you lose the stitches in there. I think shell stitches or wave stitches would work nice though. Alrighty. There we go. Find a little spot to put my stitch. Alrighty, so I'm almost to this next corner. And this is the corner where we started our double crochet trim. All right, now here's where we started, and so I'm just going to stitch 1 double crochet in that corner, and then I'm going to join to that chain 3, and I'm just going to chain 1. All right, now this of course is my swatch, but that's the way it will look when you do your double crochet trim. So once you have completed a double crochet trim all the way around your blanket, we join to our first double crochet with a slip stitch and chained 1. And one of the things I really like to do when I'm making a blanket that has great big stitches and thick yarn is do a trim of just single crochet. Now I might do another shell stitch or some other sort of trim stitch around that, but I really like to do the single crochet around because I think it helps the blanket hold its shape, especially when you're using just a big chunky yarn. All right, and so it's really just a simple row of single crochet completely around your whole blanket. And so we'll single crochet all the way around, and in these corners we're going to put a single crochet, chain 1, and single crochet, and that also will help sharpen up the corners in case sometimes they get a little rounded when you're doing double crochets. And so if you put the single crochet, chain 1, single crochet in the corner, it'll get it nice and sharp so that it looks really nice. Okay, so I'm at the corner here, and so I'm going to stitch a single crochet, chain 1, and single crochet in the corner, and then just continue on with my single crochets. And like I said, this is going to help the blanket, there we go, hold its shape. Just crisps it up a little bit. All right, and so we'll do that all the way around and join back to our first single crochet. And so here is my actual blanket again, and I just single crocheted along that double crochet edge, and then here I put a single crochet, chain 1, single crochet in the 4 corners. Let me find some more corners here. Okay, and then single crochet, chain 1, single crochet in the 4 corners. And I just really like doing that because, like I said, I really think it helps the blanket hold its shape. Now at this point, I just joined to the first single crochet with a slip stitch and tied off. And I did that method that I showed you at the beginning where I went back and forth over and over again. And I do that when I join in a new color as well, because it's really difficult to go in the fibers of the yarn when you're using this type of yarn. Okay, now if you want to add some shell stitches or maybe popcorn stitches with some white similar yarn, that would work, or leave it like this. I just left mine this way because I really like it. Okay, all right, now I do want to show you real quick with my swatch what I'm talking about weaving in, okay? Because I always get that question when I'm using a thick yarn. I'm just going to clip this. All right, so here is the swatch that I'm working with, and I'm just going to put my yarn in my needle, tie that off there. Like we'll say we finished there. So what I do is I'll go one way with the yarn on the needle. I'll go up to like the next loop and then come back the way I came. And you want to leave a good amount of yarn when you do this, because you do want to go back and forth a couple of times, especially on the blanket, just going through there, because you don't want this to come undone. And you can't really go through the fibers of the yarn. It just doesn't work. Okay. And then I'll give it just a little bit of a pull so it gets the stretchiness back in there. Okay. And so here's the front. Of course, I have a fiber ball there. Here's the front and the back of how I did that. And yes, this yarn and any of the fuzzy yarns, you're going to get a little bit of the fuzz balls. So what I do is I keep a lint roller handy, and as I'm working, I'll throw my fuzz balls off and stuff. Then I'll grab that lint roller and just roll it over there. And then I can clean up my workspace really quickly. It's messy, but it's worth it. All right, let me answer one more question, and that is, what if I don't want my blanket to be a square? I want it to be a rectangle. So what you can do is you can choose just one side of the blanket and just do some extra double crochet rows back and forth just on one side of the blanket, and that will give you a rectangle. And you could also do it where you do some on one side and then some on the other side, so that it's even striping on both ends. Okay, because I know I get that question often as well when I do a square blanket. I like this one square. It's what I was going for with the mitered design, and I just absolutely love how this yarn stitched up for it. Okay, so there's a lot of options there in shaping, sizing. The key to this is to measure, measure, measure as you go. Okay, keep your tape measure handy. It is every crocheter's best friend. All right, so that's our Holly Jolly Gumdrop Blanket for Christmas. I just love it.